scratch the surface of understanding the love of God. If we do, the scriptures say more than once, the earth is filled with the loving kindness of the Lord. The earth is full of the loving kindness of the Lord. And oftentimes we see tragedy, we see criminality, we see man's deception, we see suspicion, cheating, lying, theft, adultery. We're more sensitive to those things rather than to see that in spite of all this, the earth is still filled with the knowledge and the wisdom and the love of the Lord. That's what we need to realize and understand here. Tonight I would just like to just continue to look into our theme as we have started on being witnesses of these things. And I have subtitled our theme tonight to say that being a witness, we need to have eyes of faith. Eyes of faith. And I would like to begin from reading from our second reading this week, this Sunday, in Romans. It says there, "But the righteousness based on faith speaks thus, do not say in your heart, who will ascend into heaven, that is to bring Christ down, or who will descend into the abyss, that is to bring Christ up from the dead. But what does it say? The word is near you, in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith, which we are preaching, that if you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. For with the heart one man believes, resulting in righteousness, and with the mouth he confesses, resulting in salvation. For the scripture says, whoever believes in him will not be disappointed." Allow me to read it from Filipino version, because it really also brings it in a clearer, perhaps in a more candid way. Ito pong sinasabi sa salita ng Diyos. Gayunman, ang katuwiran mula sa pananampalataya ay nagsasabi, huwag mo sabihin sa iyong puso ang ganito, sino ang papataas sa langit? Yun ay upang ibaba si Kristo. Huwag din sabihin, sino ang bababa sa walang hanggang kalaliman? Yun ay upang ibalik si Kristo mula sa mga patay. Ano ang sinasabi ng kasulatan? Ang salita ay malapit sa iyo. Ito ay nasa iyong bibig at sa iyong puso. Ang salita ito ay ang salita ng pananampalataya na ipinapahayag namin. Ipapahayag mong si Jesus ay Panginoon at sasampalatayanan mo siya sa iyong puso na binuhay siya muli, magmuli ng Diyos. Kapag ginawa mo ito, ikaw ay maliligtas. Ito ay sapagkat sa pamamagitan ng puso, ikaw ay sumasampalataya patungo sa pagiging matuwid. At sa pamamagitan naman ng iyong bibig, ikaw ay nagpapahayag patungo sa kaligtasan. Ito'y sapagkat sinasabi ng kasulatan, ang bawat isang sumasampalataya sa Kanya ay hindi mabibigo. Ang bawat isang sumasampalataya sa Kanya ay hindi mabibigo.
Amen.
Lahat tayo siguro ay nakaranas na ng kabiguan. Nabigo tayo sa ating mga kalaro na akala mo mga kaibigan mo, yung pala hindi. Nabigo tayo sa ating pag-aaral na yung inaasang mong grade na makukuha, hindi mo nakuha. Bibigo tayo sa ating trabaho, yung inaasahan mong promotion o sweldo na gusto mong matanggap ay hindi mo natanggap. At siguro naman marami sa atin ay nabigo na rin sa pag-ibig. Yung inaasahan mong sasagutin o manliligaw sa iyo ay hindi natuloy. Pero, ang sino man daw na sumasampalataya sa Kanya ay hindi mabibigo. Walang kabiguan. Having faith in Him brings us to a place of not being disappointed. We know what God is doing in our lives. And this is something very important for us to understand. Faith is very important for every believer. It says in Romans chapter 1 verse 17, the righteous will live by faith. Hinango po yun mula sa Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 4. The righteous will live by faith. Ito po raw ang ating magiging buhay sa atin. Pananampalataya. And 1 John chapter 5 verse 4 says there, he who is born of God overcomes the world. And this is the victory that overcomes the world, our faith. Faith is so important for us. Paul talks about it in Ephesians chapter 6 verse 16 as a shield of faith, which is able to extinguish the flaming arrows of the evil one. You know, many times the enemy throws arrows at us. Even though he is powerless and is a defeated foe, he will deceive us to think that he is powerful. And many Christians are easily deceived by that. So that when Satan throws his darts of depression, his darts of self-pity, his flaming arrows of poverty, his flaming arrows of sickness and disease, his flaming arrows of weakness, God has given us an armor. One of those armor, part of the armor, is the shield of faith, which is able to extinguish, pinupuksa daw, pinapatay, pinawalang bisa, ang mga binabago sa atin ng kaaway. Pero how do we allow this faith to work? Paano natin palalayagin ang faith na ito sa ating buhay? Maraming mga paraan, sinabi dito very clearly, the word is near you, in your heart. Napakadali pala. Subalit, gusto natin abutin sa kung saan-saan pa na akala natin nandoon. Subalit, sabi ni Panginoong Jesucristo, He, through His Spirit, is always with us. Last night in our Bible study in Quezon City, someone said, ang sarap ng mga apostles noon, kasama nila si Kristo, tapos hindi pa sila naniniwala. Sabi ko, brother, sister, actually hindi ako nagsabi, tayo rin gano'n. Hindi, iba yung kasama mo si Kristo. Hindi mo kasama din natin si Kristo ngayon sa Eucharist. Si Kristo rin yan. There, tinapay lang yan. Yun ang problema mo. Kasi kaya mo akala, tinapay yan. Kaya ka nagkakaroon ng problema. Si Kristo yun eh. Pag nilukuban na yun ng Banal na Espiritu, set your spirit upon these gifts that they will become the body, binandisyon na yan ng obispo ng pare. Hindi po yung obispo ang pare ng iglesia. Si Jesus Christ. That they may become the body and the blood of Jesus Christ. You see, we have to understand and see that we have faith in our hearts to be able to know and look beyond the things that we see and the things that are around us. Because it is very deceiving. We live in a world that is deceiving. In Luke chapter 24, marami pong mga pagkakataon na mismo yung mga disipulo, they were unable to recognize. They saw with their physical eyes, but they failed to recognize. Luke 24 is a very vivid example. And this is the same group to whom Jesus said, you are witnesses of these things. See, because they now learned their lessons. In Luke 24, in the road to Emmaus, in verse 16, it says there, they failed to recognize Jesus when Jesus joined them on the road. It was only much later in the day, when they were already having their meals, that when Jesus broke the bread, and their eyes, it says they were opened, and they recognized Him in the breaking of the bread. We too are victims, if you want to call it. We too succumb to this because we are so engrossed, as I said, with many things that are happening around us, that we fail to see Jesus in the midst of the problem. When Jesus came and approached, what were the two things the apostles had? Which the apostles and then later Peter had a problem with. It says there, when he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, he sent the multitudes away. This was the gospel last Sunday. And as the story continues, the boat where they were was already many stadia or feet away. And it was battered by the winds and the waves, where the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, He came to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw Him walking on the sea, they were frightened. They saw, but they did not really see. Because they did not look at it from the eyes of faith. They thought they saw a ghost. And how many times when Jesus comes to us, maybe even in a very tragic situation, maybe it is something that we were aspiring to have but we didn't get, and we get so frustrated, we do not realize it was really God who ordained it, so that we would begin to see He is the one at work in our lives. I know someone who was not accepted in a job, and he was so depressed by that until he came to the altar of the Lord one day in prayer. The Lord showed him why. Because when that job was going to be his, if that job was going to be his, he would have to leave his ministry and not be involved. And the Lord began to show him the effects of that, not only in his spiritual life, but in the life of his family. And it was a door that was closed. But remember, every time there is a door closed, God opens another one for us. He opens another path, which is His chosen path for us. Many times we see ourselves, always coming to a dead end, to a terminal point. But for a Christian, we always remember this: the beginning and the end, the author and the perfecter, the starter and the finisher of our lives is Christ. If you remember in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2, it says there that we are to, when we run the race, we are to run with endurance. Dahil minsan nakakapagod ang buhay. Pero huwag tayong bibigay. Kahit na ano pang hirap na dinanas natin, huwag tayong bibigay. I know it's easier said than done. We all have our different loads to carry. But we must realize there is only one God who is mighty to save. He is powerful and He is willing to help us, whatever the situation is. I may not be going through it the same way you are. And many times, gusto natin na pahirapan ng mga pagsusubok. Ay, hindi mo alam yung dinadaan ako. Ay, mas mahirap naman yung dinadaan ako. Hindi, mas malaki naman yung problema ko. Parang gusto natin magpalsiklaban ng mga kamalasan sa buhay. Yung pinakamasmalas, yung pinakadukha, yung talagang yunurakan parang yun ang pinaka-masaya, pinakamahirap ng buhay. O sige na nga. Gusto mong mahirap ang buhay mo, diyan ka manatili. Minsan gusto mong sabihin gano'n. But you see, to God, it doesn't really matter. Fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of the faith. Kaya nga, ang katapusan, ano ang last word ng Bible? Anong last word ng Bible, ng Scriptures? Amen! Ano yung amen na yun? Kung sa 2 Corinthians, sabi, si Jesus ang amen. Siya ang dakilang amen. Dahil yung kanyang ginawa ang pinakakatapusan ng lahat ng buhay. Doon tayo patutungo lahat. Yun po ang ating kapalaran, yun po ang ating destiny. And we must begin to see that even though these are things we are going through, these are things which are not. 2 Corinthians, I'd like us to look at that for a while. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. It's a very, very beautiful scripture. Marami actually scriptures. When you really get excited with the Bible, as I said last Sunday in one of the masses, when you get excited with scriptures, parang kang bata na napasok sa isang bahay laruan. Daming laruan. Hindi mo alam kung ano unahin mo eh. Hindi mo alam kung ano paglalaruan mo. Merong kotse-kotse dito, tapos meron kang dito, meron kang puzzles, may games, meron ano. Ganun din ang scriptures pag binuksan mo. Sunod-sunod po yan. At lalong-lalo na pag nabuksan ang mata natin sa katotohanan. Sa 2 Corinthians, no, sabi nga doon, simulan natin in verse 7. No? Sinasaysay ko, just to give you a brief summary, background, that Paul was giving his apostolic ministry, yung kanyang pinagdadaanan. At sinabi niya, but we have in verse 7, this treasure, itong pinag-iingating nating kayamanan. We have this treasure in earthen vessels. Mga sisidlan na mahihina. Mga sisidlang madaling bumigay. Mga sisidlang makasalanan. Earthen, yun ang ibig sabihin po nun. Earthen vessels. In order that the surpassing greatness of the power may be of God and not from ourselves. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not despairing. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. And then it goes on at the end. It says there, for momentary light affliction is producing in us and for us an eternal weight of glory. You know, when sinawag ni Paul sa kanyang dinadaanan paghihirap, momentary light affliction. And that's something how we must begin to see all of these things that confront us. Momentary light affliction. May katapusan din ang lahat ng paghihirap. At ang katapusan nun ay ang buhay ng Diyos. Na habang tayo dumadaan doon, we are sustained by the grace and the mercy of God. It says, it continues in verse 18. While we look not at the things that are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary. The things which our eyes, physical eyes see, are temporary. But the things which we do not see are eternal. That's what we have. We must begin to see things that are eternal. Because we were made to live forever. We have been given that life by God. And that life is a destiny of everlasting life. Nothing that can stop us. And so we must realize this in our lives. When we look at the gospel last Sunday, we see the apostles in fear, which caused them to sink. It was only when they had faith which caused them to walk on water. And that's what we must see. Fear causes our lives to sink. And that fear is because we see things and we don't look at things which we should see, but we look at things which we are around us, just temporary. Doon tayo nakatuon. Huwag natin tignan yan. Hindi natin sinasabing we will deny it. We must realize these are not the final authority. It is not the absolute. It is not the final say in our lives. Yes, we all go through difficulties and problems. One day, we will see all of these things come to an end. Because the end of all is Christ. And that's a truth that we must constantly live out in our lives, day by day, never forget. We must realize, sino mang nananampalataya sa Kanya ay hindi mabibigo. Because that is the life we live. Can we stand for a while? I'd like us to sing that song.